Yes, Corporal? How can I help?
Well, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. How did you become an assassin?
Why do you want to know?
Because I want to know my allies.
Huh. I see. In short, my mother sold me. And after an incident, my owner noticed my talents. He started to train me to carry out jobs for him. And when I was 17, he had an accident. I've been an independent assassin ever since.
Your mother sold you? But where? Why?
Because she needed the coin, and already had 4 children to feed. And as for your first question, where there is demand, there is a market. Particularly in a big city like Greyfell. It's not as uncommon as you might believe.
You're saying there's a slave market in Greyfell?
Slaves, sex, murdering for pleasure. Just imagine every dark desire you can think of. And you know what the Greyfell Bazaar has to offer. I find it interesting that this surprises you. Didn't you serve in the Royal Army for 8 years?
I only joined shortly before the Mage Wars started. And the Greyfell affairs were the responsibility of the Greyfell Guard. I just didn't know.
Well, now you do. I do not agree with the purity of light in most aspects. But they are right when they say there are many sinners in this world. If you believe in the concept of sin, that is.
Even if she needed the money, that's despicable.
Well, to her credit, she didn't take it lightly. At least as far as I can remember. I was only 7 when that happened.
That doesn't make it better. How do you feel about this? Your mother selling you off?
Well, I used to feel strongly about it. Now I've simply accepted it as part of my past. But there are plenty of reasons for that.
That's quite the story.
Is it?
So, who was this man who bought you?
I won't talk about that. This chapter of my past is done, and I want it to stay buried.
I understand.
I'm glad you do. So, tell me, Pariah, how did you become the Betrayer's child in the first place? It's rare for a child to defy their own father.
He lost his vision. When he started the rebellion, it was about the safety of mages. But he became more and more radical. I just couldn't stand by and watch anymore.
That's admirable. Well, thank you for sharing this with me. Either way, is there anything else you need?
What?
Well, there's...
Why do you want to know?
Just answer the question.
Fine. If you... In short,
Your mother...
because she needed the coin, and already had 4...
So, who was...
I won't talk about that. This chapter of my past is done, and I want it to stay buried.
To me, that sounds like you're hiding something.
I am. But it should be of no relevance to you. So, tell me, Pariah, how did you become the Betrayer's child in the first...
He lost his vision.
Either way, is there anything else you need?
Again, no option to get out of this conversation.
Let's see.
So,
Moving
back
on.
on your feet again, aren't you? Good, because there's plenty of work ahead of us. Do you think you can handle it? Leading the troops, I mean?
Yeah, I can.
Good. At least all that explains why your aura has always felt so strange. You're not human. At least not entirely.
I guess I'm not.
Makes you more interesting, though. Either way, we'll find a way to get your mother back. What that fucking bastard did will not go unpunished. Trust me on that.
So I guess that means you're staying.
Yeah, you guessed right. At least for now. You're not the only one with an interest in seeing the purity of light have their fucking stakes shoved up their own asses. Now we should probably get back to planning. There's plenty of things we need to do if we want to get Greyfell back from that fanatic.
Right. I'll see you around then.
You will. Huh?
Can you tell me more about your craft? About demonology?
And why's that? Thinking about a career change?
It's certainly a powerful school of magic. I could see myself dabbling in it.
Well, the moment you start dabbling with it is the moment you enjoy a very painful death. There's a reason demonology is forbidden. Most people who mess with it die. But sure, if you have questions, ask.
Let's start with the basics. What's the core principle of demonology?
It's simple. You study demons and their powers, and bind them to your will. And thus you gain access to their powers. Take a devourer. Once you've studied and subdued her to your will, you can access her strength. And I'm not talking about merely summoning her. You can channel her powers.
How is that supposed to work? channeling their powers?
Hard to describe. Just imagine that the demon becomes a part of you. You connect it with your magic, so to speak. And when needed, you can call on it to help you. It's not just the power that comes with it. It's also the feeling. Channeling the essence of a Zarek Nar, a tribe eater. It's a feeling that compares to nothing else in this world. You can't understand it till you've done it.
So, in order to bind them, you need to beat them in battle, correct?
Well, it's a bit more complicated than that, but yeah. In a nutshell, that's it.
And I'm guessing that's what makes it so dangerous?
Among other things, yes. What can also happen is that your body simply can't handle a demon's unleashed essence. It can cause a brain rupture similar to what these masks the Purity use. And, to be honest, that happens to 8 out of 10 students of demonology. They subdue a demon, get excited, and let all their energy rush in at once. As a result, their brains explode like a watermelon hit with a warhammer.
Sounds painful.
Ouch.
So, why exactly is demonology forbidden?
Because it's dangerous. And because demonologists can be extremely powerful. More than some members of the ruling caste would like to see.
And yet necromancy is all fine.
Is there a limit to how many demons you can bind?
No. If there were, I wouldn't still be traveling after all this time.
Interesting. Thanks for the insight.
Sure. Huh?
Never mind. I'll be going.
Okay.
Now
What about
would
you?
Look at that.
Hey, you're an adventurer, aren't you? Come
Hey,
take a
you're an
look. I'm
adventurer,
sure I've got
aren't
something
you?
that might spark your interest. Farewell.
Wow, that sounds so much like recorded dialogue, like
Got it.
stock dialogue. It's like, what can we shove here? Oh, this sounds good.
Understood.
Hey, elves.
What is it?
I would like to train the elves.
Well, if you have the coin, I might be able to help. Let's see.
Okay. Dang, I can only afford one. Okay.
Yes, yes. Have you come to see the fruits of my labor?
I still can't buy
Pleasure
any.
doing business with.
Is there anyone in the human camp that I need to talk to? No, all shopping. Oh, you.
Will do.
After I talk to him, it's gonna be this guy. It's amazing that I turned Rowan into a pure elementalist instead of a melee character. It's great.
So, I guess we have some talking to do, don't we?
You knew about my mother, didn't you? That's what you hinted at back in the forge before we set out to the Eye.
Well, the answer is yes and no. I had suspicions, let us call it that, but they weren't enough to go on, and I had no idea your mother was connected to the Bloodburn.
Why didn't you tell me?
Is that so? And exactly what should I have told you? That I believe you might be the result of your father's experiments? That you're the offspring of some long-dead, forgotten race? Tell me, Tahar, what for? I mean, at best, you wouldn't have believed me. And at worst, it would have cost you your sanity. So no, I don't think I should have told you. I didn't know if these suspicions had any substance at all, and I would have been at great risk, especially back then when you were still part of the rebellion.
Where did these suspicions come from? Did my father tell you?
No. And he never found out that I knew. Your father... I don't need to tell you how meticulous he was, do I? That's why he always kept notes of his experiments and studies. I found one, a notebook. The story's actually quite simple. Your father had gone out to meet with Aeolot Iskander, and had tasked me with cleaning up his laboratory.
Really? He never let me into his laboratory.
I know. And he wasn't exactly trustworthy towards me, neither. But you know Asamo. His mood was never what you'd call stable. One day, he'd think the entire rebellion had schemed against him. The next day, he told us that we'd change the world. It was part of his charisma, I guess.
Being crazy, I guess.
Sometimes I think the reason why the Mage Rebellion became so big was less of Asamo's magical powers, rather than his ability to create emotions in his followers. But we digress. So I had found this small booklet on his table. It didn't look important in any way, yet I was immediately curious. I opened it and started reading.
What was in there?
His experiments in the eye. The ancient woman, as he called her. Your creation, these waxwork figures which he tried to infuse with life. It was disturbing. And at the same time, fascinating, as you can imagine.
Didn't you say you didn't have any evidence to back up what you thought was happening? And yet you're now telling me that you found a book that was written by him that literally states... Whatever. Okay.
That book. Did it say anything about how this ritual worked? Andra said something about how the Shapers conceive differently.
I don't think it can be compared to how two humans reproduce, if that's what you're thinking. But as for the details, I don't know. As I said, I barely had 1 hour. And I only got to the chapter about you in the very end.
Do you still have that book?
No, of course not. I couldn't even read through all of it, else your father would have noticed that I had done nothing of what he had tasked me with. And I have no idea where it is now.
I figured. So, why did he, well, create me? My mother said it was to gain access to the Archfire.
Yes, I think that was the main reason. Though I couldn't help but notice a certain, I don't know, warmth in his words when he described his plans.
Was there?
I know it sounds cynical, Tahar, but yes, there was. Still, I don't think you were just a tool to him. You weren't. Tell me, Tahar, knowing all that, how does it make you feel?
Well, it tells me that my choice to betray him was the right one. I was never sure if Asama was really the madman people thought he was, but now I do.
Yes, I guess you do. Either way, I think we both need some time to think. As I said, Tahar, I'm sorry that I didn't tell you earlier, but I simply didn't know what to do. Tahar, what is it?
There's one thing I've been wondering about. After we parted at the hideout, what exactly happened? How did you and my father part ways?
Good question. I guess it all started with the relics, the tomes. You remember them, right?
Yes, he was hoping they'd help him to win the war.
Exactly. And there was this one moment when he found the 5th tome, when I came to a realization. You see, there were all those bodies. Enemies, but also many of our people. We had shed so much blood, Tahar. So much blood for our cause. But Asamo, he didn't care. If there was any grief in his eyes, I couldn't see it. And as dramatic as it may sound, that's when I finally understood that we had lost our cause. This wasn't about ideals, about us mages anymore. It was about him. whatever his intentions had become.
And that's the reason Zane, Helena, and I betrayed him. Come on. Do you really want to tell us you didn't see that before? The tomes were all about power.
No, you misunderstand. I knew it was about power. But Asamo always told us that he would use that power for the greater good. And it's not that far off. I mean, can't you imagine? With the power of the tomes, we could have united the world. Even made it a better one. No more persecution of the deviant. No more wars. No more suffering.
You mean an aristocracy, with a couple of mages playing God.
There's always someone playing God. And honestly, don't you think the world would have been a better place if there were gods who actually cared? Who involved themselves in politics? I do. But be that as it may, what we can be certain of is that the world the Purity is envisioning would be a far worse one than anything us mages could have ever created. They must be stopped at all costs.
I'll be off.
Alright, one more person. One more lore dump. And then we can finally continue with even more lore dumps. Because we're going to continue with the main story.
Tahar, it is good to see that you have recovered. This place and these people lack guidance without you.
They did?
Yes. The Lord Marshal tried to assume control, but as you might have expected, he did not have everybody's support. I was even fearing an internal power struggle, and I'm glad it did not come to that. I must say, Tahar, your mother, she is remarkable. I have always wondered what the Shapers look like, and now I do. It is fascinating, though I suppose this is a difficult topic for you. Forgive me if my words were inappropriate.
It's all right.
Good. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? Yes? What? Yes? What is it?
Back when we met, you told me about an internal disagreement, which led to many of the guild's mages leaving. What exactly happened?
Why do you want to know?
No particular reason. I'm simply curious.
I see. Well, simply put, the guild had two leaders until half a year ago, me and Lena. Lena and a lot of the other mages felt that they could uphold their neutrality no longer without sacrificing their integrity.
You're talking about the persecution of mages.
Yes, I am. As Lena said, they are crucifying us, burning us alive, putting masks on our heads that destroy our minds. If there's something wrong with the world, it's people who keep their heads down because they are afraid to stand in for what's right.
Well, she did have a point.
In her reasoning, she did, yes. However, her stance conflicted with everything the Creators Guild stands for. We preserve knowledge, push forward the boundaries of magic. We do not involve ourselves in power games and politics. Figuratively speaking, a fisher will never be a good military commander, just like a mage will never be a good politician.
So where did Lena and the other mages go?
I do not know. They left to fight the Purity and save mages, but I have not seen them ever since.
Could you tell me more about Lena? What was her position in the guild?
She was the guild's treasure master. Other than that, I do not know what to tell you. She was quite young when she joined the guild, not even 24 winters old, and immensely talented. When it came to mentalism, her skills were unmatched. She was different than the others. She was better than the others. And I always saw a spark of genius in her eyes. And yes, I do know that most people would call that attraction. But it was just a fraction of what made our bond unique.
Well, I understand the conflict.
Well, you are an empathetic woman, so I would have been surprised if you did not. But these events lie in the past. There is no point in discussing them any further, though I had certainly hoped for a different outcome.
You seem bitter.
As I said, I had hoped for a different outcome.
Could you tell me more about the woman who initiated the split? Lena, what was your relationship?
I would rather not talk about it. Please understand.
Of course. But if you ever want to talk about it...
I will tell you.
Goodbye.
Cool. Well, we can't delve any more into the backstory of any of our companions until we advance the story further. Speaking of which, let's go advance the story further. Isn't it great that I turned every single one of our companions into mages? Because mages are OP. Very OP. Especially necromancy. Oh my lord, necromancy is just... I personally have 3 necromancers.
Alright, let's catch our breath first. Next step.
Good.
Why does it keep playing that cutscene? Does it really want me to talk to this guy? Is that what it is? Here, I'll talk to him.
Tahar, ready to discuss the next steps?
There's just one thing I still can't wrap my head around. How did Lacane become so powerful? How could he rally so many people behind him?
The big question, isn't it? In the end, I think it boils down to the fact that he poured salt into the wounds the Mage Wars had left in Northander. You see, it's not hard to rally people behind you if they are desperate enough. He just gave them a simple answer to a complex question. And the people believed him. Though I don't consider him a pragmatist, he really believes in what he says, that Aeonia will return.
I agree.
Once mankind has repented, which worries me even more. There's nothing more dangerous than fanaticism, fueled by magical power. Your father is the best example.
I want to talk about Sentenza. His death.
Well, what is there to say? As I heard the story, he didn't leave you much choice.
So you're not angry?
For you defending your life? No. I never understood why he was so obsessed with hunting you down to begin with.
But he was acting on your orders.
Well, yes, strictly spoken, he was. You were a traitor. Or at least, that's what we thought back then. That witch hunt in Iskander, the battle at the Eye, that was his choice.
I see. You didn't tell me yet. How exactly did you get here? Weren't you in Greyfell when the Harbinger took over?
No, I wasn't. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here. But we were on our way back the night it happened. As you can imagine, it was a hard choice to make. But eventually, I left my pride behind and realized attacking Greykeep with the little division I was traveling with would have been suicide.
So you fled?
We retreated. The rest is simple. We went to Iskander because we had heard the rumors about your army. There we met one of your scouts, and then the elven woman, Iria of Finon Mir.
Oh, she decided to let you in.
Correct. You know the rest. Your people were a bit distrustful at first, and I don't blame them. After all, they'd been fighting the Royal Army not too long ago. But eventually, they realized that we were on the same side.
I hope that we are.
We are. Trust me.
All right. Let's discuss what comes next. I'll go get the others.
Good.
Good. Now that you're all here, I'd like to plan how we proceed. As...
Tahar, I think you should allow yourself some more rest. You were in a coma for more than a month, and we still don't know what that melding actually did to you.
Isn't it obvious? It made her more powerful.
Yeah, but where does that power come from? What effect does it have on the human body or the psyche? We don't know.
I'm all right, Iskram. Just trust me.
Fine. Then go on.
Thank you. So, our objective is clear. We need to defeat the purity of light and save my mother. Angar, am I right to assume that Lacane made Greykeep his new base of operations?
Correct. It's the center of his power, which is both good and bad. It's bad because Greyfell was built to withstand any kind of ambush.
And why is it good?
Because it also means if we succeed and reconquer Greyfell, we'll cut off the snake's head. Once we kill Lacane, the purity will fall. However, there's no point in fooling ourselves. That battle for Greyfell will be bloody, And if we want to have even the slightest chance of winning, we need to join the remaining houses.
Ultran, Hallett, and Wolfgar.
Yes. If we put this army together with theirs, we might stand a chance. Also, you should see if you can strengthen the alliances you already have, Tahar. I have a plan regarding that, so we can talk further once this meeting has been concluded.
So do I.
All right. So where do we start?
It's up to you. But before we can even think about arranging a conclave between the houses, we need to break that spell the Harbinger put on my sister Myra. Isgrim, any ideas?
Actually, it should be simple. We need to find the one controlling her, take the rune, and, well, destroy it in the forge.
And who is controlling her? What if it's the Harbinger himself?
I doubt it. The manipulator has to be physically close to his subject, so it'll most likely be someone in Lady Myra's army. But your rune will react to another rune's presence, so once that person is near, you'll feel it.
Good. Then I have a plan. The Harbinger has taken up position in Iskander, between the Utran and the Everlight border. You know that place, Tahar. It's where your father started his rebellion, and where Sentenza almost captured you.
The Loyalist camp. So, what's your plan?
We strike in full force and take the castle. He'll be forced to initiate a counterattack, and my sister's armies, the Utran army, will be the closest ones at hand.
A bait.
Yes. We hold the castle against the main army, whereas you, Tahar, and a small troop get behind enemy lines. You find the rune carrier and strike from the shadows. Obviously, you'll have to act quick. We can't hold against the entire Utran army forever.
What if killing the rune carrier won't break the mind control?
We'll just have to hope that doesn't happen.
All right. So we take over the castle, wait for the Utran armies to cross the border, sneak behind their lines and eliminate the rune carrier. And once Lady Myra is freed, we will gain the support of House Hallett and House Wolfgar.
Yes, though we'll need to take care of something else before that. But let's discuss this when the time comes.
Agreed. One more thing. This will be dangerous, and our original mission has been completed. In other words, if any of you are thinking of leaving, now is the time. Well, then we best get prepared now. I'll tell you when we head out.
Understood. Tahar, I'd also like to talk with you if you have a moment.
Corporal Tahar. A word, if you will?
Who are you?
Private Miller, Corporal. I'm from the Royal Army and came here with the Lord Marshal. We've captured someone who we suspect belongs to the Purity. He was seen in the deserted village outside this city, and he looks suspicious. He claims to be a simple courier sent to deliver a message to you, but we didn't want to take any risks. He's outside, near the entrance to the caves.
I see. Thank you, soldier. Dismissed.
Corporal?
My god, there's a lot to do.
Will do. Tell me, Angar. Do you regret helping the Purity, now that you've seen their true face?
That's a hard question to answer, and you know it. On the one hand, yes, I underestimated them. On the other hand, back then, it was the only logical thing to do.
Logical?
Yes. After all your father did in the Mage War, the people were angry, desperate, broken. The Purity channeled, and still channels, these emotions. It may sound cynical to say that now, but if it hadn't been for the Purity of Light, something far worse might have happened.
That's a cold way to see it.
It's the way a commander has to see things. But that is not to say that my decision to give the Purity of Light that much power came easy. I'm not free of self-doubt and empathy, Tahar, even though it may seem that way to you.
However, I will not lie. Mages are a problem, and something needs to be done about them. If we don't, it is only a matter of time until a second Isamo Tahar will appear and once again plunge the world into chaos.
We need a group that represents mages. Then treaties could be made.
That is an interesting idea. But before we can decide on any course of action, we need to deal with the current threat first. But to return to your question, all I did was take every factor into consideration and decide accordingly. You did the same. More than once. I've heard of the trail of destruction you've left behind on your journey. Many people died under your command.
We tried to help wherever we could.
I believe you. But have no doubt that there are many who don't. What I'm trying to say is, there might have been a better way to handle things, but I did not see it. I did what I could, and even though it turned out to be a mistake, I have no regrets.
I wanted to talk about Leonon.
I had a feeling you would. Look, back at Greykeep, the situation seemed crystal clear. You killed 3 of your brethren, and General Noria openly spoke out against you. Similar to my policy regarding the purity of light, I can now see that I was wrong. But again, all I did was to take all factors into consideration and decide accordingly. It was all I could do.
I understand.
That's good. Either way, you've been pardoned. And more than that, now we're fighting side by side against the real scourge of the Empire. I don't hold any grudges against you. And I can only hope you feel the same.
The past is the past.
It is indeed.
Did you ever think about what would happen if the Queen never wakes up from her coma?
She will wake up. The healers claim that she's already getting better.
They've claimed that ever since that dragon incapacitated her.
The Queen has Hibernian blood in her veins. And as long as her heart is still beating, I will not waste any time thinking about something that might never happen. Though, of course, that is not to say that others at the court haven't done it. Most people believe that Queen Aelith doesn't have an heir. But that's wrong. She does.
Really? Who?
A cousin. I suppose you know about the Queen's problematic ancestry. The ability to give life has always been impaired in her bloodline, which is why she does not have any brothers or sisters. However, it was rumored that her uncle, Anno Aelith, left an heir before he died. A bastard son.
It's the first time I've ever heard that.
Yes, because the Crown took measures to quiet these rumors. Suffice it to say that Queen Aelith's supposed cousin is far from an ideal candidate for the throne. But I will not go into detail on this topic. It is irrelevant. And it will stay irrelevant. Because the Queen will survive. I can feel it.
You said that you have an idea on how we can get more allies to fight the Purity.
Yes, I do. It's someone you're already familiar with. At least, according to your friend Iria. The Iron Falcons.
You want to convince them to join our troops?
Not all of them, obviously. The Field Dog are an even greater threat than the Purity, even if most people nowadays have almost forgotten about them. What I suggest is that we strike a bargain with them. They give us a small division of their elite keepers, and we provide them with twice the amount of footmen and maybe engineers to make up for it.
Engineers and infantry for a handful of knights? Is that really worth it?
It is. The Falcons aren't only excellent fighters. Their presence will also inspire our soldiers. They're living legends.
That's not what it seemed like when I was there. Highkeeper Erenor almost lost the tomb just because she was too stubborn to cooperate with the Deathmen.
Well, given that the latter now fight for the Harbinger, her mistrust wasn't that unjustified, don't you think? But still, you make a fair point. Keeper Erenor is complicated. But if what the elf told me is true, she learned her lesson.
All right. It's worth a try. When do we set out?
Whenever you want. Thanks to these Godstones, it won't take us long to get there. So I'm not expecting this mission to cost us more than a day, 2 at most. We should probably take some troops with us, just in case the canyon is still unsafe.
Fair enough. I'll let you know when we go.
Good.
Now would you look at that? I'll be leaving now.
All right.
Interesting. You said you know where we can find more allies.
Yes I do. I'll make it short. The Ash Reavers have invaded the foot of Barga Gore. If we defeat them and their leader, like we defeated Krell, their soldiers will join us.
The Ash Reavers? I'm guessing that's another orc tribe.
Yes, you already met them, back at Farland's Hope. They are a very violent tribe. A lot like what Krell wanted the Fire Wielders to become. And they are nomads. They never stay in one place for more than a couple of moons, which is why their city is basically a movable fortress.
So we head back to Bargagor and defeat them. Sounds simple enough.
Well, yeah. Except for one thing. Kagan, the Ashriva's chieftain. I think this invasion is about more than gaining new territory. It's personal. He despises me, and that's putting it lightly.
Why? Because you kill Krell?
No. It's more complicated than that. You see, becoming a shapeshifter in Orcish culture is complicated. You have to be chosen by the village elder and undergo years of brutal training. I did my trial with another apprentice, a female named Rain. We were close, not as mates, but as friends, almost as if we shared the same blood. Long story short, during the trial we found ourselves locked inside a cave, deep inside the mountain of Bargagor. After weeks of starving, we realized what the true trial was. Only one of us would leave the cave alive. Rain sacrificed herself for me, without my consent. She did it while I was asleep. To get to the point, Kagan is Rain's true brother. To this day, he thinks that I killed her.
Did you ever try to tell him the true story?
We only met once. And yes, I did try to talk to him. It ended in a fight which I won. That disgrace only added to his hatred. And truth be told, that was my last attempt to convince him. I knew it was fruitless. Our tribes lived weeks of journey from each other. And, well, the memory of Rain's sacrifice is painful enough for me as it is. I just wanted it buried, somewhere in the dark corners of my mind where I'd never have to face it again. Which, as you can guess, didn't work. I still have nightmares.
I see. And that's why he invaded Bargagor.
It must be. Bloodthirsty as the Ashreavers are, there is no reason for them to start a war with the Firewielders, especially now that we unified them. He must have heard that I'm behind this, and that rekindled his hatred for me. In other words, we need to stop him, and as fast as possible. According to one of my sources, the Purity is also planning to start an attack on Bargagor. The Firewielders should be able to hold them at bay, but not if they have to wage war against the Ashreavers at the same time.
Why is the Purity attacking Bargagor?
Isn't it obvious? To eradicate us. Just like the Dark Elves, we Orcs are a creation of the renegade gods, so we aren't even given the chance to repent. The Kane's war doesn't stop in Northander, Tahar. He plans to take on the entire world.
But that's crazy. He must know he can't win this.
Does he? He's a fanatic. He thinks Aeonir is acting through him. I promise you this, Tahar. Even the moment your blade is at his throat, he'll think he can still win. He has completely lost his grip on reality.
So what's the plan? Return to Bargagor, drive back the Ashreavers, and kill Kagan?
If all else fails, yes. We will kill him. For the sake of my people, and for our cause. But he's Rain's last living kin. So I want to first try reasoning with him instead. There must be a way to convince him that I'm not a liar, that I didn't kill his sister.
All right. I'll tell you when we head out.
Yes, Chieftain Czar already left before you woke up to get an idea of the situation. I know time is sparse, but we should leave as soon as possible. And thank you, Tahar. I appreciate it. Huh?
Goodness.
I'll be off.
Gracious. So much lore. So much backstory. Insanity. We're not even halfway done.
Let's see.
We still got more people to talk about, or talk to. We got to go to Iana and talk to how we can improve the elves.
Got it.
Ah, Tahar. Good of you to come by.
Sure. You wanted to talk?
Yes. I'll be brief. While you were asleep, an elven messenger came by. Varden Marilith, one of the Moorhere scriers from Leafshade, sent him.
Marilith? What did he want?
Only that he needed your help. They, that is, he and a couple of his followers, seem to be somewhere deep in the Leafshade jungle, near the Halayish ruins.
The old Hibernian city? But what do they want there? That's dangerous.
I don't know, Tahar. We will need to find out.
Do we really have the time for this?
That is something you will need to decide. But if we don't help, it might cause unrest within the Moorhere, who are fighting for us.
All right. We might look into this.
We should. Is there anything else you wish to discuss, Tahar? Yes, Corporal? How can I help?
Nope. I believe there. Yep. And poof. I'm here.
Oh, great. Another one. How often do you want me to tell you? I'm not a spy, and I'm not with Purity.
Wait! You're their leader, aren't you? Corporal Tahar?
Yes.
Well, then maybe you can tell these fools to let me go. Blazes, I knew it was stupid to take that job.
So, who are you, and what are you doing in Farland's Hope?
As I told this bloody brute who captured me, I'm just a courier, and someone paid me to deliver a message to a Corporal Tahar. I had no idea it was the Corporal Tahar, and had I known, I would have told that guy who gave me the job to sod off.
Who was it?
Well, he was wearing a hood, so he obviously didn't want to be recognized, but he had a brown beard, was about your height, and had...
Bertrand!
I don't know how to put it, a certain sadness in his eyes.
But he didn't look dangerous and paid good coin, so I took it.
Can I see this message?
Oh, finally, someone who asks. Yes, it's in my coat pocket, and no, there's no poison in there to kill you.
Let me see. A meeting in Everlight. From a friend.
A friend, you see? Can I go now?
Yes, go.
Thank you, Corporal. Thank you. Now, don't get me wrong, but I want to get out of here as soon as possible. Do you think your guards will let me through?
They will. Stay safe.
I'll try.
The quest didn't complete. Okay. Bugged quest, of course. What was I expecting from this game, honestly? I have ranged quest, it's insane. Now it's just gonna be on here, bothering me. Oh, this didn't even finish. Oh, great. Great. Oh, good. The elixir, which I can't complete. Huh.